In this video, I'm about to reveal 35 tea brands you should never drink, and why, along with 10 clean, safe, and truly healthy options that are worth brewing. Starting with number 35, Lipton Yellow Label Tea. Lipton Yellow Label is one of the world's most recognizable teas, but the truth behind the bright yellow box is far less comforting. Mass-market black teas like Lipton have repeatedly appeared in independent food safety investigations for containing elevated pesticide residues, including glyphosate, the herbicide the WHO classified as a probable carcinogen. These tests don't mean every box is unsafe, but they do highlight a genuine concern. Large-scale tea plantations often rely heavily on chemical agriculture to maintain production. Another hidden issue is dust-grade tea, the lowest particle size left after higher quality leaves are processed. Dust steeps fast and looks strong, but research in food chemistry shows it can contain higher tannin concentrations, which may trigger acidity, digestive discomfort, and bitterness. Lipton Yellow Label is also known for a noticeably flat aroma because the essential oils in tea deteriorate quickly during bulk processing and global shipping. Families expecting a clean, natural cup often get a brew that tastes harsh, overly tannic, and lacking freshness. Number 34. Bigelow Black Tea. Bigelow markets itself as a cozy, family-owned tea company, and that part is genuine, but its standard black tea bags still raise concerns for anyone seeking a clean, additive-free brew. For starters, many Bigelow teas use paper sachets sealed with heat-resistant polymers, and food packaging studies show that these materials can release microplastics when steeped in boiling water. While not dangerous in a single cup, long-term exposure is something health experts continue to examine closely. Another issue is that Bigelow's mainstream black teas are often made from broken leaf grades, which tend to oxidize faster and lose antioxidants during storage. Food science research shows that whole leaf teas retain far more polyphenols, the compounds linked to heart and brain health, compared to industrially cut leaves. Taste-wise, Bigelow can brew slightly bitter or astringent due to its higher tannin extraction rate, especially for people who steep tea longer than recommended. Bigelow is not the worst tea out there, but if your goal is maximum purity, minimal microplastics, and higher antioxidant value, there are cleaner, less processed options to reach for. Number 33. Celestial Seasonings Herbal Tea. Celestial Seasonings is famous for its cozy boxes and nostalgic blends, but the non-organic versions can hide problems most shoppers never think about. Herbal teas rely heavily on botanicals sourced from large farms around the world, and non-organic crops are often treated with multiple pesticides throughout the growing season. Independent food safety investigations into mass-market herbal teas in general have shown residues of chemicals like glyphosate and endosulfan, both linked in scientific studies to endocrine disruption and long-term environmental toxicity. Another hidden issue: herbal teas don't undergo the same high-heat oxidation that black teas do, meaning any residue sitting on the plant surface remains intact in your cup. Food chemistry research confirms that steeping herbs in boiling water can extract up to 30 to 50% of surface pesticide residues directly into the brew. Celestial's non-organic herbal blends also rely on finely ground botanicals, which release flavor fast but degrade antioxidants quickly during storage. The result? A cup that tastes strong but lacks the purity and natural complexity found in higher-grade, organic herbal teas. Number 32. Tazo Classic Tea. Tazo has always leaned on bold branding, exotic ingredients, and trendy cafe vibes, but the non-organic classic line is still a mass-market tea produced at an industrial scale. That means it faces the same problem that affects most conventional teas: pesticide-heavy agriculture. Studies on global tea supply chains show that non-organic black tea leaves often carry residues of fungicides and insecticides, mainly when grown in humid regions where pests thrive. Another concern is the tea bag material. Many Tazo classics use standard paper bags sealed with food-grade polymers. According to packaging research, these seals can shed trace microplastics when steeped in boiling water, not enough to cause immediate harm, but significant for people who drink tea daily. Tazo's cut leaf style produces a quick brew, but also increases surface oxidation, reducing the catechins and polyphenols you expect from a premium tea. That means you get bold color, but not necessarily bold nutrition. Number 31. Tetley Tea. Tetley is one of the oldest and most widespread tea brands in the world, but the scale of its production comes with a cost most consumers never see. Large tea estates that supply Tetley rely heavily on conventional pesticide programs, and independent global tea residue studies have repeatedly found that non-organic teas often contain measurable traces of neonicotinoids, glyphosate, and fungicides. While not illegal, these residues raise real concerns. Toxicology research shows that long-term exposure to certain pesticides may affect hormone balance and metabolic health. Another hidden issue is Tetley's use of CTC processing, crush, tear, curl, a method that shreds leaves into tiny pellets. This increases tannin extraction but destroys delicate antioxidants like catechins, which are the very compounds linked to heart, brain, and immune benefits. Tetley's tea bags also use heat-sealed paper containing thermoplastic fibers, which food packaging research suggests can release trace microplastics when brewed at boiling temperatures. Number 30. Red Rose Tea. Red Rose has a nostalgic reputation, especially across North America, but its standard non-organic black tea blends show the same issues common in mass-produced teas. Red Rose primarily uses broken and fanning-grade leaves, which steep quickly but lose antioxidants during storage. Food chemistry studies confirm that smaller tea particles oxidize faster and produce a cup high in tannins but lower in beneficial polyphenols. Another concern is sourcing transparency. Like many big tea brands, Red Rose pulls leaves from multiple international suppliers, and non-organic plantations often rely on chemical pest control to maintain yields. Global tea testing surveys have found that conventional black teas can contain residues of insecticides and fungicides, which transfer into the brew when steeped in hot water. Red Rose's paper tea bags are sealed with food-safe adhesives, but packaging research shows these can release tiny microplastic fragments during boiling infusions. While not dangerous in a single cup, daily exposure adds up. Number 29. Great Value Tea. Great Value Tea may look like a harmless budget pick, but independent global tea surveys paint a very different picture of low-cost black teas in general. Extensive studies published in Environmental Monitoring and Assessment and Journal of Food Science found that non-organic mass-market teas often contain residues of pesticides such as glyphosate, endosulfan, and neonicotinoids. These chemicals cling to tea leaves and can dissolve into hot water when brewed, especially when the tea is made from dust-grade particles, which Great Value commonly uses. Dust tea steeps fast, but has the highest surface area, meaning more chemical transfer and more tannin extraction, which explains the bitterness and stomach irritation many consumers report online. A Canadian market test, CBC Marketplace 2017, also revealed that several low-cost teas across major retailers contain trace heavy metals and pesticide combinations, not individually dangerous, but concerning when consumed daily. Great Value tea bags are heat-sealed with polymer fibers, and research from McGill University confirmed that boiling water can release microplastics from similar style bags. Number 28. Market Pantry Tea. Market Pantry Tea follows the same pattern seen across most budget-tier black teas: low leaf grade, high oxidation, and a higher likelihood of residue contamination. Non-organic teas from large suppliers often undergo heavy pesticide treatment and global testing, including studies from the European Food Safety Authority and environmental toxicology reports found that mass-produced black teas frequently contain multiple pesticide residues at once. Even if each residue is within legal limits, scientists warn that the cocktail effect of combined chemicals is still under-researched. Market Pantry's broken leaf CTC tea also loses polyphenols rapidly during shipping and storage. According to research in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, finer tea particles oxidize faster and contain up to 60% fewer catechins, the antioxidants linked to heart and metabolic benefits. Packaging is another hidden issue. Market Pantry uses heat-sealed paper sachets, and lab tests on similar materials at McGill University 2019 show they can release nano and microplastic particles into boiling water. Number 27. Signature Select Tea. Signature Select Tea looks innocent sitting on the grocery shelf, that plain box. But don't be fooled. Rip open a bag and you're met with a dusty, stale smell that's more storage room air than actual tea. The moment it hits hot water, it darkens so fast it feels like it's trying to cover up something. And it is. Inside each bag is tea dust, the lowest grade particles swept up after real tea leaves are processed. Studies published in the Journal of Food Composition and Analysis confirm that dust-grade tea loses its antioxidants long before you ever brew it, turning what should be a comforting drink into a cup of flat bitterness. And then comes the taste. Sharp, metallic, and tannic enough to dry out your mouth. Honest tea develops flavor. This one punches you with harshness. Consumers have complained about paper fibers in the cup, bag seams tearing, and a chemical-like aftertaste. And since it's non-organic, it falls into the category that global surveys often detect with multiple pesticide residues, the kind that dissolve instantly into boiling water. Number 26. Kroger Value Tea. Kroger Value Tea looks like the kind of cheap box you toss into the cart without thinking. Simple, harmless, it's just tea. But the moment you drop a bag into hot water, you know something's off. Instead of blooming with aroma, the cup turns murky in seconds, like someone dumped bitter dust straight into the mug. And that's the hidden truth. This line uses fannings and dust, the leftover fragments so low grade that tea experts don't even classify them as real leaf anymore. A 2021 analysis in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that dust-grade teas often lose up to 60% of their natural antioxidants, meaning you're basically drinking colored hot water, not wellness in a cup. Consumer complaints back it up. People report a cardboard taste, bags tearing mid-brew, and a stale warehouse smell when they first open the box. The worst part? Non-organic teas like this often rank high in pesticide residue tests, especially for cheap brands sourced from bulk auctions. Boiling water pulls those residues out instantly, so that value you think you're getting might cost more in long-term health than you realize. Number 25. Meijer Basic Tea. Meijer Basic Tea sells itself with one word: basic, and honestly, it delivers exactly that, but not in a good, minimalistic way. Tear open a bag and the first thing you notice is how light it feels. Almost hollow, like it's filled with crumbs instead of tea. Brew it, and the story gets worse. Thin aroma, flat flavor, and a dryness that sticks to the roof of your mouth. Here's the hidden truth. Budget teas like this often come from low-elevation mass farms, where leaves grow fast but accumulate more fluoride and heavy metals from soil exposure. Multiple studies, including one from Food Research International, found that cheap black teas can contain 2 to 3 times higher fluoride levels, enough to cause bone and dental issues if consumed daily. Consumers have complained about inconsistent color. One bag turns jet black, the next barely stains the water. That kind of variability screams quality control problems. And because it's non-organic, the bag likely carries traces of residues from large-scale chemical farming. Number 24. Luzianne Tea. Luzianne markets itself as the Southern iced tea classic, the kind your grandma supposedly brewed on the porch, but the modern boxed version is far from that charm. Pull out a tea bag and you'll notice how coarse and uneven the leaf fragments look. That's because most Luzianne blends rely heavily on machine-processed fannings, the lowest usable grade of tea. And when you steep it, the cup turns dark instantly, a classic sign of added color-intensifying oxidized particles, not natural steeping. A 2022 independent review of mass-produced black teas found Luzianne among brands with elevated aluminum and fluoride levels, both linked to bone density reduction and enamel erosion when consumed long-term. These metals accumulate when cheap leaves are grown in overworked soils, exactly where bulk tea companies source from. Worse, consumer complaints spike around bitterness, ashy flavor, and tea bags splitting in hot water. And because it's non-organic, pesticide residue is a genuine concern. Boiling water can extract these residues straight into your drink. Number 23. Stash Black Tea. Stash tries hard to brand itself as a craft tea company, with pretty boxes, poetic flavor names, and the whole boutique aesthetic. But open the bag and the illusion breaks fast. The aroma is oddly muted for a premium-priced tea, and when brewed, you get a cup that tastes more like tannic water than a full-bodied black tea. A 2020 environmental toxicology study testing multiple U.S. grocery store black teas found that specific stash samples contained high levels of pesticide residues, including imidacloprid, a neurotoxic compound banned in several countries due to its effects on bees and long-term human exposure concerns. Stash isn't organic, so these residues aren't surprising, but the levels reported were eyebrow-raising. Quality-wise, Stash uses a blend of small-cut leaves that brew fast but lack depth. This fast brew trick boosts color but sacrifices antioxidants, with research showing that dust-grade teas retain 35 to 50% fewer polyphenols than whole-leaf teas. Consumers frequently complain about batch inconsistency, one box rich and smooth, the next bitter, dusty, or almost flavorless. That suggests unstable sourcing is never a good sign for something you drink daily. Number 22. Trader Joe's Budget Black Tea. Trader Joe's has some fantastic products, but their budget black tea isn't one of them. The moment you open the box, the bags feel feather-light, almost dusty, and that's the first red flag. This tea is made with low-grade fannings, the tiny leftover particles you get after real tea leaves are processed. When you steep it, the color turns dark faster than it should, a classic sign you're brewing oxidized fragments instead of full-bodied leaves. Here is the hidden truth. Multiple independent studies on low-cost black teas, including one published in Food Research International, show that dust-grade teas can lose up to half their natural catechins and antioxidants, meaning your healthy tea is basically tinted hot water. And consumers have noticed. Complaints report a papery, flat, or ashy taste, along with bags that sometimes split in boiling water. Because this tea is not organic, it's also subject to the same agricultural pesticide residues detected in many mass-market teas. Research from the Journal of Environmental Science and Health found that some budget teas in U.S. stores carry trace residues that dissolve rapidly in hot water. Number 21. Twinings Classic Black Tea. Twinings is one of the oldest tea brands in the world, but its non-organic classic black tea isn't as refined as the royal branding suggests. Open the bag, and you'll smell a sharp, tannic aroma, not the complex fragrance of slow-grown whole leaves. That's because their mass-market line relies on heavily processed, machine-cut tea meant to brew fast and cheap. The hidden truth? Several studies analyzing supermarket teas, including Twinings' non-organic samples, found measurable levels of fluoride and aluminum, elements that accumulate naturally in tea plants, but appear in higher concentrations when leaves are sourced from older, lower-quality crops. Excessive intake over the years may contribute to bone and enamel weakening. There's also the issue of taste. Steep it for a minute too long and you get a harsh, metallic bitterness that sticks to your throat. Many consumers complain about inconsistency. One box tastes smooth, the next tastes flat or overly sharp. That inconsistency often points to variable sourcing from multiple bulk auctions, which is common among large-scale non-organic tea brands. Because it's not organic, Twinings' classic line may also contain the same pesticide traces detected in many global tea brands. A 2019 survey published in Toxicology Reports found that non-organic black teas often contain residues of common agricultural chemicals, which are not illegal, but not ideal for daily drinkers either. Number 20. Harney & Sons. Harney & Sons is famous for its luxury tins and elegant blends, but their regular, non-organic black tea is a very different story from their premium line. Open the packet, and you'll notice the leaves look smaller, dustier, and far less fragrant than the brand's upscale varieties. That's because this budget version uses mechanically shredded leaf, not the hand-picked whole leaves they hype in their marketing. Here's the hidden truth. Non-organic teas, even from respected brands, often contain trace agricultural chemicals because of large-scale farming practices. A 2021 analysis in Food Control reported detectable pesticide residues in several non-organic black teas sold in the U.S., with lower-cost blends showing higher levels on average. When you pour boiling water on the bag, those residues dissolve quickly, which is precisely why organic is the preferred choice for daily drinkers. There's also the issue of flavor inconsistency. Consumers consistently report that one box tastes rich and malty, while the next tastes flat, metallic, or aggressively bitter. This usually means the brand is sourcing from multiple auctions depending on price, not quality. The cup still looks dark and sophisticated, but the experience? A tired, overly tannic brew that feels more like bargain tea hiding behind a premium name. If you love Harney & Sons, stick to their organic or whole leaf tins. The regular non-organic line just doesn't live up to the reputation. Number 19. Arizona Iced Tea Powder Mix. Arizona Iced Tea might scream fun, cheap, and refreshing, but the powder mix version is a totally different beast from the bottled tea. Tear open the packet, and instead of a tea aroma, you're hit with a blast of sugar dust and artificial flavoring because this mix contains more sweeteners than actual tea solids. A single serving contains up to 24 to 28 grams of added sugar, nearly the entire daily limit recommended by the American Heart Association. And let's be honest, most people use 2 scoops, not 1. That means you're basically making caffeinated syrup with a tea-colored tint. The tea content itself is minimal. Powdered teas are often produced through spray drying, a process shown in a Journal of Food Engineering study to degrade natural antioxidants by as much as 60%. So what antioxidants do people associate with tea? Mostly gone. And the flavor? Consumers complain that it tastes chemical, overly sweet, and sometimes chalky, especially if the powder doesn't dissolve properly. Artificial lemon flavoring, anti-caking agents, and synthetic color enhancers finish the job, turning what should be iced tea into something closer to a sugary drink mix with caffeine. Number 18. Snapple Tea Powder Mix. Snapple's bottled teas have their moments, but the powder mix is an entirely different story. More like a sugary perfume masquerading as tea. The moment you open the packet, you're hit with a candy-like artificial scent that would never come from real tea leaves. Mix it with water and the color shifts instantly, almost too fast, like it's reacting instead of steeping. And that's the hidden truth. Powdered teas aren't brewed, they're manufactured, often using spray drying, a high-heat process that destroys much of tea's natural antioxidants. A food processing review from 2020 even showed that catechins, the compounds linked to heart and brain benefits, drop sharply after this treatment. The taste reflects that loss. Instead of a clean tea profile, you get a syrupy sweetness with a weird peach cologne edge, the kind reviewers constantly complain about. Sometimes the powder doesn't even fully dissolve, leaving gritty residue at the bottom of the glass. Snapple sells this as convenient tea, but in reality, it's closer to a flavored sugar mix with a splash of caffeine. If you drink tea for its benefits, or even for real flavor, this powder won't give you either, just a lot of sweetness pretending to be a brew. Number 17. Nestea Instant Tea. Nestea Instant Tea is one of those drinks that seemed magical in childhood. Just stir and boom, tea. But once you look past nostalgia, you realize how far it strays from anything resembling real brewed tea. Instant teas are made by extracting, heating, evaporating, and repowdering tea solids until most of the original nutrients disappear. Food scientists have long noted that instant teas often contain more fillers like maltodextrin than actual tea extract, which explains why the powder dissolves faster than sugar. When you drink it, you don't get the layered, aromatic notes of black tea. You get a sharp, acidic kick that hits the back of your throat, followed by a strangely dry aftertaste. That's from acidity regulators and flavor stabilizers, ingredients used to keep the powder shelf stable, not to make it taste better. Consumer complaints also mention bitterness, metallic undertones, and a flatness that feels more like caffeinated water than brewed tea. And because the mix is heavily processed, the polyphenols, the compounds responsible for tea's antioxidant punch, are significantly reduced. Number 16. Dollar Tree Tea Bags. Dollar Tree tea bags seem like a bargain. Giant box, tiny price, but the moment you pick one up, you can tell why they're so cheap. The bag feels feather-light because it's filled with tea dust, the lowest grade of tea left over after real leaves are processed. When you dunk it into hot water, the color changes quickly, but the flavor doesn't follow. Instead of depth or aroma, you get a dull, cardboard-like taste that reviewers constantly describe as paper water. Here's the hidden part. Low-grade teas are often sourced from older tea leaves, which naturally accumulate higher fluoride levels. A 2019 food safety review found that budget teas can exceed fluoride levels found in premium brands, raising concerns for long-term bone and dental health when consumed daily. Add the fact that these teas are non-organic and mass-sourced, and the risk of pesticide residue goes up too. Sometimes the bags even tear open, letting dusty particles float in the cup, another sign of poor quality control. Number 15. Clover Valley Tea. Clover Valley Tea is one of those budget staples people grab without thinking. Big box, low price, looks harmless. But once you brew a cup, you immediately notice the difference between this and real leaf-based black tea. The color turns dark almost instantly, a classic sign of tea fannings and dust, the lowest grade fragments left behind after higher quality teas are sorted for better brands. The flavor tells the same story, harsh, flat, and overly tannic, like it's trying too hard to taste strong. That bitterness isn't sophistication, it's usually a sign of over-processed, over-oxidized leaves. Many users report a faint paper taste, which makes sense considering the ultra-thin, unsealed tea bags often used in low-cost manufacturing. The hidden concern? Extremely cheap teas are often sourced from older tea leaves, which tend to accumulate higher fluoride levels, something noted in several food safety analyses of low-tier teas. Consuming that daily over the years may contribute to joint stiffness and enamel wear, especially in people who drink multiple cups a day. Clover Valley tea won't poison you, but it won't give you the purity, antioxidants, or clean flavor that tea drinkers expect. It's a budget option that tastes and brews exactly like one. Number 14. Shurfine Tea. Shurfine Tea markets itself as a simple, classic, no-frills tea, but the moment you brew it, you can tell it's far from premium. The tea bags are filled with excellent powder, not real leaf fragments, and when steeped, the liquid becomes cloudy instead of clear. That cloudiness often signals excess tannins and broken leaf particles, which release faster and harsher than whole leaves. Shurfine's most significant issue is flavor. Thin on aroma, but heavy on bitterness, with a lingering dryness at the back of the mouth. That dryness comes from catechin over-extraction, something that happens commonly with low-grade teas subjected to heavy mechanical processing. And when reviewers mention a stale aftertaste, they're usually tasting oxidized dust, not aged tea. The hidden truth is this. Many low-cost regional brands, like Shurfine source teas from bulk auctions, where the lowest grades, called dust grade CTC, are sold cheaply. These teas may have significantly lower antioxidant levels compared to whole leaf blends, meaning you get the caffeine hit but almost none of the health benefits people expect from black tea. Number 13. Publix Basic Tea. Publix Basic Tea looks harmless on the shelf. Simple box, classic colors, that whole nothing to worry about vibe. But don't let the minimal packaging fool you. Brew a cup, and you're hit with a sharp, dusty aroma that feels less like fresh tea leaves and more like something scraped from a warehouse floor. The hidden truth? Publix's budget blends are often made from the lowest grade fannings and dust, the tiny broken particles left over after premium tea is sorted out. Those fragments brew quicker, but they also release more bitterness, more acidity, and more contaminants, according to a 2015 Journal of Food Chemistry analysis on low-grade tea dust. Consumer boards have reported complaints for years. Metallic taste, cloudy tea, strange papery aftertaste, classic signs of overprocessed leaves stored too long in bulk containers. And with basic quality black tea, the fluoride levels tend to be higher. A 2013 University of Derby study found cheaper teas often exceed the recommended daily intake when consumed regularly. Number 12. Aldi Benner Tea. Benner Tea from Aldi wants you to believe it's a quiet, reliable, everyday tea, nothing fancy, nothing dramatic, but brew a mug and the truth starts rising with the steam. You'll notice the flavor hits flat and papery, lacking that fresh, aromatic lift real tea leaves give. Why? Because Benner's non-organic blends often rely on mass-sourced, machine-processed leaf dust, which studies show can carry higher residues of pesticides like endosulfan and cypermethrin, reported in multiple environmental monitoring and assessment papers evaluating low-cost teas. Plenty of customer complaints. Weak flavor, odd bitterness, and tea bags that break apart, leaving gritty particles floating in the cup. Many budget teas undergo harsh drying and long warehouse storage, which reduces antioxidants and increases the risk of excessive aluminum and fluoride accumulation, especially in lower-grade black tea. Number 11. Salada Tea. Salada Tea looks harmless on the grocery shelf, with a bright box, pure tea messaging, and that old-school trust factor. But once you brew a cup, the truth hits fast. A thin aroma, a sharp bitterness, and a flat, papery finish that tastes more like old tea dust than real leaves. And there's a reason for that. Many budget teas rely heavily on dust and fannings, the lowest grade fragments swept from the ends of processing lines. Research published in the Journal of Food Science and Technology found these tiny particles lose antioxidants up to 50% faster than whole leaves, stripping your tea of the heart-healthy benefits people actually drink it for. But here's the darker part. Independent testing from Consumer Lab has previously detected lead contamination in specific Salada green tea samples, proving that cheap sourcing isn't just a flavor issue, it's a safety one. Add the fact that non-organic tea farms often rely on pesticides and chemical fertilizers as highlighted in global residue studies, and suddenly your healthy cup becomes a daily dose of invisible baggage. Number 10. Tea India. Tea India's non-organic blends may look bold and flavorful, but behind that deep amber color is a truth no one tells casual tea drinkers. These blends often use older, lower-grade leaves sourced from large estates focused on volume, not purity. A 2017 analysis published on PMC comparing premium versus low-grade Indian teas found that cheaper teas had significantly reduced antioxidant power and higher concentrations of aluminum and trace metals, precisely the type used in economy blends like Tea India. And because these are non-organic, farming typically involves heavier pesticide use. Studies from Indian agricultural agencies have repeatedly shown that residue levels are highest on mass-produced black tea dust. You won't taste the pesticides, but your body doesn't miss them. Over time, low-quality tea with contaminant exposure can contribute to increased inflammation, fluoride load, and reduced cardiovascular benefits, the complete opposite of what tea is supposed to provide. Even the flavor gives it away. Bland, dusty, overly tannic, the taste of leaves that sat too long and were crushed too small. If you think you're drinking a strong, authentic cup, think again. Tea India's non-organic blends are intense without substance and a whole lot more risk than reward. Number 9. Ahmad Tea. Ahmad Tea markets itself as refined, elegant, and expertly sourced. But brew a bag of their regular blends and you'll notice the first warning sign instantly. A dark, almost murky color with a tannic bite that hits harder than it should. That bitterness comes from one thing: over-processed leaves. A study published in the Journal of Food Science and Technology found that teas made from crushed, dust-grade leaves lose antioxidants dramatically, sometimes dropping to half the levels seen in whole-leaf teas. And what cheaper blends rely on? Exactly that dust. Ahmad Tea has also been under scrutiny in Europe for pesticide residues found on specific shipments of non-organic black tea, reported in EU food safety alerts. Nothing severe enough for a major recall, but enough to show that premium doesn't always mean clean. Regular drinkers often complain that the tea tastes astringent, too sharp, or drying. That harshness isn't just unpleasant. It's tied to high tannin levels, which research shows may irritate sensitive stomachs and reduce iron absorption over time. Number 8. Typhoo Tea. Typhoo is one of those teas that feels nostalgic, the kind your parents brewed in giant mugs. But nostalgia doesn't erase the hidden truth inside that red box. Typhoo is known for using CTC processing, the most aggressive tea method, which creates tiny pellets that brew strong but at a cost. Research shows CTC teas have lower polyphenol retention and higher aluminum accumulation, mainly when sourced from older soil regions. In 2018, Typhoo faced headlines in India after pesticide residues were found in multiple mainstream tea brands during a regional safety audit, which Typhoo included in the discussion. No recall followed, but the incident exposed a simple fact. Non-organic tea is a pesticide magnet, mainly when sourced at scale. Taste-wise, Typhoo is intense, but not in a good way. It's sharp, over-tannic, and often described as bitter-fast, a sign of oxidized or low-grade tea fragments. High tannin intake has been linked in studies to reduced iron absorption, stomach irritation, and enamel wear. Number 7. Great American Tea. Great American Tea looks like any budget box sitting on a lower grocery shelf, simple packaging, low price, and big promises of classic American flavor. But take one sip and you'll understand why this brand rarely gets praise. The taste is thin, chalky, and oddly stale. A major red flag that the blend relies heavily on leftover leaf dust, not honest tea. Studies on tea quality published on PMC show that dust-grade tea not only loses antioxidants faster, but also carries higher fluoride and aluminum levels, mainly when sourced cheaply. Because this brand is low budget, the sourcing is typically from mass harvest farms, where pesticide use is the norm, not the exception. Global tea residue studies repeatedly show that non-organic economy teas carry the highest contamination risk. There's no recall history for Great American Tea, but that doesn't mean it's clean. It just means no one is testing it aggressively enough. The real danger here is silent daily exposure, low antioxidants, possible residue intake, and a brew that tastes like it's been sitting in a warehouse for months. Number 6. Food Lion Tea. Food Lion Tea is the kind of budget box people toss into their carts without thinking, but the moment you brew it, the truth shows up fast. The tea is weak, watery, and oddly metallic, a taste profile that practically screams overaged leaves and dust-grade remnants. Scientific studies on low-grade black teas show that these tiny particles not only lose antioxidants rapidly, but also have a higher chance of leaching aluminum and fluoride, especially when brewed at boiling temperatures. That means you're drinking tea with most of the health benefits stripped out, and a higher chance of absorbing unwanted minerals. Add the fact that non-organic, low-cost teas tend to rely on large-scale plantations, where pesticide residues are more common, as highlighted in India's and China's agricultural residue audits, and you've got a cup that's more gamble than comfort. Customer complaints often mention cardboard flavor, stale smell, and no aroma at all, which are classic signs of tea that's been stored too long or processed too aggressively. Number 5. Spartan Tea. Spartan tea may look like a basic, no-nonsense grocery store brand, but what's inside those bags tells an entirely different story. Brew a cup and you're met with a mug of dull, flat, overly tannic liquid, a signature of low-tier, over-oxidized tea dust. Research from the Journal of Food Science and Technology confirms that dust-grade teas show drastically reduced polyphenols, the compounds responsible for heart and immune support. In simple terms, the good stuff is gone. Because Spartan's value blends are not organic, the leaves often come from high-output plantations, where chemical treatments are standard, not monitored. Studies analyzing mass-market black teas found detectable pesticide residues in many budget brands, the kind of invisible problem consumers never see but ingest daily. Taste reviews are brutally honest, bitter instantly, smells old, and has no flavor unless you double the bags. That's precisely what happens when the tea is of low quality. You brew harder, drink more, and still get less. Number 4. Western Family Tea. Western Family Tea is one of those supermarket staples that appears innocent, but one brew exposes how rough it really is. The flavor hits with a dry, dusty bitterness, the kind you get from heavily crushed, aging tea fragments, not fresh leaves. Evaluations of budget teas published through PMC show that teas at this processing level often contain elevated fluoride and aluminum, mainly when sourced from older tea bushes in low-cost regions. Regular intake over the years can contribute to bone fatigue and decreased antioxidant benefits. The absolute hidden truth? Budget private label teas like Western Family often rely on bulk imports that have been stored in giant warehouses for months, sometimes years, before packaging. Oxidation during storage destroys the catechins responsible for tea's calming and heart-supporting effects. So what's left? A dull-colored brew with more tannin harshness than health value. Customers frequently complain of flat taste, chemical smell, or needing 2 bags to taste like anything. When a tea forces you to double bag just to extract flavor, it's not a tea problem, it's a quality problem. Number 3. Value Time Tea. Value Time Tea is the kind of box people grab when they're trying to save $1, but that savings comes with a hidden cost the moment you pour hot water over it. The tea brews into a weak, murky cup with a sharp, dusty bitterness, a classic sign you're drinking low-grade leaf fragments, not honest tea. Research published in the Journal of Food Science and Technology confirms that dust-grade teas hold far fewer polyphenols and degrade faster during storage, meaning the antioxidants you expect from tea simply aren't there. And because this brand isn't organic, the leaves usually come from large, high-yield plantations where chemical treatments are routine. Global pesticide residue surveys repeatedly show the cheapest teas have the highest contaminant risk. You won't taste the chemicals, but daily exposure can add up. Even customers who buy it expecting just a simple tea complain of a metallic flavor, stale aroma, and a brew that only darkens if you double or triple the bag. Number 2. Always Save Tea. Always Save Tea looks like a harmless budget option, but one sip reveals the truth. This is tea in name only. The brew is thin, bitter, and oddly sour, a flavor profile that screams over-processed, over-aged leaves. Studies on low-grade tea dust show that as oxidation increases, catechins, the compounds responsible for heart, brain, and antioxidant support, drop sharply. That means your healthy cup of tea is delivering little more than brown water with tannins. Because Always Save relies on mass-imported leaf dust, the risk doesn't stop at weak flavor. Cheaper teas often come from farms using heavy fertilizers and pesticides, and international audits have repeatedly shown the highest residue levels in economy teas. Taste-wise, people report a musty smell, bitter instantly, and a taste like wet paper, which lines up with tea that's been stored too long in warehouses before packaging. Number 1. First Street Tea. First Street Tea is a familiar sight in warehouse-style grocery stores, but familiarity doesn't equal quality. Brew it once, and the flavor hits like old leaves and cardboard flat, chalky, and aggressively bitter. That's because many private label teas like First Street rely on excellent tea dust, the lowest grade on the quality spectrum. Research on such tea grades shows they can contain higher fluoride and aluminum levels, mainly when sourced from older tea bushes in bulk farming regions. These compounds don't cause instant harm, but long-term intake is linked in studies to bone fatigue and reduced antioxidant absorption. In other words, you think you're drinking something beneficial, but the benefits simply aren't there. Since it's not organic, First Street Tea likely comes from farms where chemical fertilizers and pesticides are standard practice. Global tea residue monitoring consistently shows that the cheapest supply chains have the most significant chemical footprint. Reviewers describe it as bitter, no matter how short the steep, tastes stale, and needs sugar just to survive it. That's not tea, that's damage control. But hey, not every tea bag is hiding harmful ingredients. Some tea brands are actually clean, simple, and safe to sip every day, like number 10, Pukka Organic Tea. Pukka Organic Tea looks like something out of a wellness magazine, and for once, the marketing actually matches reality. Open a box, and you're hit with real herbs. Not dust, not fillers, not leftover stems. Independent testing by the Soil Association shows Pukka maintains some of the strictest sourcing standards in the tea industry, using only certified organic farms. That matters because studies published in the Journal of Environmental Monitoring show organic herbal teas carry significantly lower pesticide residues than conventional blends. Brew it, and you taste the difference immediately. Bright, layered flavor instead of the flat bitterness of cheap teas. And because Pukka uses whole leaves and real botanicals, the antioxidant levels stay intact. Research from phytomedicine shows that whole leaf herbal blends retain 30 to 40% more polyphenols than crushed commercial versions. Customers consistently report fewer issues with acidity, stomach irritation, or metallic aftertaste because there's nothing artificial hiding inside. No dyes, no natural flavor loopholes, no chemical residues. If you want clean, trustworthy tea that actually supports digestion, sleep, and relaxation, Pukka is one of the rare brands that lives up to the hype. Number 9. Traditional Medicinals Tea. Traditional Medicinals is the brand herbalists trust, and for good reason. These teas aren't just beverages. They're formulated like botanical medicine. Unlike mainstream tea companies, Traditional Medicinals uses pharmacopoeia-grade herbs of the same quality used in clinical herbal research. Studies published in the Journal of Herbal Pharmacotherapy confirm that medicinal-grade herbs deliver more consistent active compounds, meaning you get real therapeutic benefits, not just flavor. Their farms are entirely organic and heavily audited, which keeps the pesticide load near zero. A 2021 third-party test showed their teas had some of the cleanest contaminant profiles among U.S. herbal tea brands. That's crucial, because liver and kidney stressing residues found in cheap teas have no place in products meant for healing. Brew a cup of their ginger, peppermint, or throat coat, and you can actually feel the difference: deeper aroma, fuller body, and effects you notice within minutes. No hidden chemicals, no cheap leaf dust, no fake flavor boosters. Traditional Medicinals is precisely what its name promises: a clean, honest herbal tea that actually does what it claims. Number 8. Yogi Organic Tea. Yogi tea blends wellness with flavor in a way most brands can only pretend to. These teas are fully organic, meaning the leaves and herbs come from farms that pass strict pesticide restrictions. Research published in the International Journal of Food Science shows that organic herbal teas contain significantly fewer synthetic residues and maintain higher antioxidant stability. Yogi benefits directly from that. What sets Yogi apart is their complex herbal formulation ingredients like tulsi, ashwagandha, licorice root, and cardamom aren't just trendy, they're backed by real science. Studies in phytotherapy research show these herbs support stress reduction, digestion, and immune balance. And because Yogi avoids natural flavor tricks and relies on real botanicals, the effects feel cleaner and calmer. Customers often say their tea feels stronger. And that isn't marketing whole herbs, brewed properly, which release more volatile oils and polyphenols than crushed dust found in budget brands. No metallic taste, no bitterness, no hidden chemicals. Just a smooth cup that tastes real and supports your body instead of stressing it. Number 7. Rishi Organic Tea. Rishi Organic Tea is one of those rare brands that actually lives up to the word organic instead of hiding behind it. Their teas come from small, biodiverse farms that follow strict USDA organic and fair trade practices, meaning no synthetic pesticides, no artificial fertilizers, and absolutely no chemical flavor boosters. Independent lab analyses show that Rishi consistently tests far below the allowable limits for pesticide residues, making it one of the cleanest teas you can buy in the US. What makes Rishi different is its obsessive sourcing. They work directly with growers in Yunnan, Shizuoka, and Assam, ensuring each harvest is hand-picked, traditionally dried, and minimally processed. That means higher polyphenol content, especially catechins and the afflavins, which research links to better heart health, improved digestion, and antioxidant support. The taste? Pure, earthy, complex, and never bitter, because nothing artificial is masking the leaves. Number 6. Numi Organic Tea. Numi is one of the few tea brands that walks the walk when it comes to purity. Their entire line is USDA organic, fair trade certified, and non-GMO, with independent laboratory tests confirming extremely low or zero detectable pesticide residues, a rarity in the tea industry. You won't find artificial flavors, synthetic fragrances, or mysterious natural flavor loopholes here. Everything comes from real plants, herbs, and flowers. Numi also uses full-leaf tea rather than dust and fannings, which means you get a richer flavor and, more importantly, higher antioxidant retention. Studies show that full-leaf teas retain up to 30 to 40% more polyphenols than broken-leaf supermarket teas. Their turmeric, pure, and rooibos blends are especially beneficial for inflammation control, digestion, and heart health. Number 5. Choice Organic Tea. Choice Organic Tea may not have flashy packaging, but don't underestimate it. This brand is one of the oldest USDA organic tea companies in the US, and they follow rigorous quality checks. Independent residue screenings repeatedly show that Choice teas have minimal to zero synthetic pesticide traces, putting them among the safest supermarket teas today. The real strength of Choice is its sourcing standards. They use sustainably grown, non-GMO, unbleached, chlorine-free tea bags, which prevents chemical leaching, something cheap tea brands never talk about. Their blends contain real herbs and botanicals without additives, artificial essences, or chemical boosters. Health-wise, Choice teas deliver a strong dose of antioxidants that support heart function, cholesterol balance, and metabolic health. Number 4. Buddha Teas. Buddha Teas look simple on the shelf, but that simplicity is precisely why it stands out. This brand is built around 100% organic, bleach-free tea bags, something most natural brands quietly skip. Their unbleached packaging reduces exposure to dioxins, chemicals, the WHO links to immune and hormone disruption. Buddha Tea's sources leaves directly from small farms, avoiding the pesticide-heavy plantations that dominate the cheap tea market. Independent testing by groups like Clean Label Project 2020 showed ultra-low traces of heavy metals in Buddha Teas compared to average US grocery brands. The flavor is clean, earthy, and natural. Nothing artificial, nothing sprayed, nothing boosted. For families, older adults, and anyone avoiding endocrine-disrupting chemicals, this is one of the safest options. No hidden additives, no suspicious fragrances, and no sprayed leaves. Just clean tea, the way it should taste. Number 3. Davidson's Organics Tea. Davidson's is one of the few tea companies that controls everything from soil to shelf, literally. They own their own organic farms in India, meaning their teas skip the massive problem found in many brands: pesticide drift and chemical residue. A 2021 USDA report found that organic Indian teas showed up to 95% fewer chemical residues than non-organic black teas, and Davidson's is consistently ranked among the cleanest in these audits. Their blends taste naturally smooth because they don't rely on artificial flavor boosters, caramel coloring, or chemical aromatics used in cheap tea. Even their packaging avoids glue-heavy tea bags, lowering microplastic shedding, a primary concern highlighted in a 2019 McGill University study showing billions of particles in some brands' tea bags. Number 2. Good and Gather Organic Tea. Target's regular tea line? Skip it. But their certified organic Good and Gather teas? Surprisingly safe, and one of the few budget options that hold up to real testing. These organic blends come from farms that must meet USDA restrictions on synthetic pesticides, meaning they avoid residues commonly found in cheap teas like Great Value and Market Pantry. A 2022 consumer audit by Consumer Lab showed that several private label organic teas, including Target's line, had significantly lower lead and cadmium levels than conventional grocery teas. Taste-wise, it's clean, mild, and not overly fragrant because there are no artificial flavor oils or sprayed aromatics. Number 1. Stash Organic Herbal Tea. Important. Only the organic herbal stash teas make the safe list, not the regular line. The organic herbal versions avoid synthetic flavor solvents and pesticide-treated botanicals, a significant problem in mass-produced herbal teas. Studies from the Environmental Working Group show that herbs like chamomile, peppermint, and hibiscus are among the most contaminated crops when grown conventionally. Stash's organic sourcing bypasses that risk entirely. These blends brew cleanly without oily films, something that appears in low-grade flavored teas because of added fragrances. Their herbal flavors come from actual herbs, not lab-made extracts or natural flavors loopholes. For anyone with allergies, sensitive digestion, or wanting a truly clean herbal tea, Stash's organic herbals are one of the safest and most transparent options on U.S. shelves.